technology becoming a part of everyday life, there are growing security threats to our personal and official data, and it is emerging from the use of technology itself. There are MNCs and startups that are providing cyber security solutions for its users. Welcome viewers to My Startup TV. I'm your host, Major Sunil Shetty. On our panel discussion, we have three eminent guests from the cybersecurity domain. Our first guest is Ram Bandireddy, Senior Vice President, Pre-Sales and Product Management at Cotelligent India. Our second guest is Dhananjay Atmuri, Director for Global Security Delivery at Cotelligent India. And finally, our own in-house cybersecurity expert, Vinit Nair, who is also the CTO at Humble Fox Studios. Welcome, gentlemen. Welcome to the show. Let's start with the very basics. For many people out there who probably would have heard about cybersecurity, threats from cybersecurity, but don't really understand what it means. So let's start with Vinit. Vinit, tell us, what is phishing attack all about from the layman's point of view?
So in short, phishing attack, the most common attack technology used for getting credentials or forcing someone to enter something that is not something to be given out. I could send you, for example, if I want to get somebody's Facebook account, I could make a fake website, like a Facebook-based website, and I can send it to you. It's not the original Facebook website, obviously. You would be, obviously, you will think this is like the normal Facebook, and you'll put your username and password into that. Instead of that going to something like Facebook's data center line, like it's getting logged into that, it is sent to me. And I get your credentials like username and password. In short, the phishing attack is like tricking somebody to enter information that is critical to the person, like username, password, credit card, anything, into a fake website or fake posted areas, so that I or the attacker gets information to that. It's pretty, if you think about it, it's pretty straightforward, but new technologies have emerged to protect it, but it's still the most widespread attack possible right now in the world currently, still.
What kind of attacks, apart from what phishing attack we're talking about, what are the other threats that we as individuals, as organizations, as governments face today?
In addition to what Vinit mentioned, right, we've got the social engineering, another type of attack, wherein you don't require just the external forces who can intervene into your system's technology, but leeway in the internal, within the internal security perimeter as well, or technology perimeter as well. And, the social engineering attacks, these are some of the attacks that can be curbed with the awareness trainings within the organizations or within the, areas that we work in. This is something that has to be curbed, because this is very easy to get attacked during the cybersecurity.
Coming to you, Ram, is it possible to protect ourselves as individuals and organizations from such attacks? And companies like yours, you're into cybersecurity. So what are the solutions that are available out there?
I mean, there are two factors here. One is the common people who get attacked on a daily basis, right? We receive a lot of SMSs, we receive a lot of WhatsApp messages, we receive a lot of Facebook messages, and all of them are trying to make you enter your credentials, or say, at the end of the day, the ultimate motive is financial benefit for the criminals, cyber criminals. And the only way to avoid any of these challenges are education and awareness, right? So we all need to be aware. Any piece of data we share, do not WhatsApp your Aadhaar card or other important documents and be unprotected, right? So, and do not click on links which are very obvious, but at the same time, if everybody has a cell phone, and we have billion cell phones or more in India, and we are prone to attacks all the time, and the criminals are always looking for this. They're looking at billion cell phones or mobile phones or smartphones, and they're thinking they can make a lot of money out of it. So the best tool here is education and awareness. We need to bring awareness to the entire population. And when it comes to enterprises, yes, it still happens in enterprises as well, but there are, I mean, sustainable tools to measure them and prevent some of these attacks, right? We have gateway tools, and in the last 18 months or so, things have changed. We have moved from a perimeter world to a no perimeter world. There's nothing in between us and the application server. All of our servers are now, majority of our servers are now in cloud, and there's nothing in between. So we are open to attacks. So, and there are tools in enterprises, but not as efficient as they need to be there. Our enterprises, especially in India, and the government organizations are adapting, and Intellecta provides insights into what is happening on endpoints. We collect the logs on the endpoints, desktops, and even smartphones, and we would be able to distill the logs and find out what kind of threats the end users are facing or the enterprise is prone to. And we can mitigate them. We can alert our end users that they have launched a virus, they have touched a virus, or they have launched a malware through the email, and we can alert them. At the same time, when we are, I mean, in thousands we can manage it. When you have in lakhs and crores, it becomes challenging, right? So the only way for us to stop that is automated, and that's what Intellecta does. Intellecta automates all of this process and starts sending alerts when they click on the wrong link or their data is at risk. So especially when the data is at risk.
So when you talk about protecting your data and not clicking on links that you're not supposed to, let's say we do it, which happens most of the time. What are are there any solutions that can immediately help you fix the problem, Ram?
I mean, there are solutions like antiviruses and your endpoint security is when you have a stronger endpoint security solution on the laptop, which is up to date. I say up to date because the signatures are updating every moment, every day. And when we have these signatures updated, there are zero-day attacks which happen all the time. And as long as the antiviruses and the endpoint security tools are efficient, there's great protection, not the best protection. I mean, it still protects up to 90 to 95% of the attacks, but there's still that 5% delta, right? There's always that zero-day attack, which actually makes everybody vulnerable and prone to it. And that's from the end user's perspective. From an organization's perspective, we can see, I mean, we would be able to have visibility into who is clicking that and what kind of behavior is the end user looking like, and the patterns have the patterns changed from the last 30 days or 60 days, and all of a sudden they're going into they're clicking on a link which is from a foreign nation or a foreign IP address.
So, Mr. Dhanu,
what kind of role is AI playing in ensuring the cybersecurity?
Okay, I'll just share an example, right? With the AI coming in, and especially all of us are aware of identity access management. Right. So one of the areas that can help from the AI is the predictive analysis. So, for example, what kind of access the individual would require, or what kind of access or entitlements that the individual would require or doesn't require. For example, in a team of 10 people, there might be a request for an entitlement from one person, and similarly, the AI can predict and tell the manager that, hey, the rest of the team members would require this. And from the protection standpoint, if there is an unwanted access that it presents for a particular individual, that can throw up a message to the manager stating that, hey, your team member has got additional access, which can be vulnerable at a later point of time. So that is how AI can help this is one just example, but there are several examples that we have in the market today. And as Ram mentioned, we've got Intellecta, which can provide that to some extent.
So, Mr. Dhanu,
they say criminals are always ahead of people who create law or the law enforcing agencies or security agencies. Do you think ever cybersecurity experts like you and a company like yours will be ahead of the criminals?
This is kind of an yes or no, right? We can definitely protect to a larger extent, and the solutions that we have currently in the market from the Quaterligent India services, we definitely will be able to protect the individuals in the organizations and the organization's infrastructure, people, and system. But yes, there's always a factor that unknowingly, or as you rightly said, the bad actors have got a lot more than what the cybersecurity experts do. So there's always a probability.
Coming to you finally, Ram, where do you see the future of cybersecurity? As you rightly said, everything going over the cloud. There's hardly anything left between the user and the cloud. Where do you see the future of cybersecurity?
It's wild west, right? Right now it is all over the place. Everybody is placing data everywhere, and with the clouds being introduced, we are just putting data everywhere. And with WhatsApp and everything, anything is prone to be attacked. And I think whoever stays ahead and finds that niche and tries to protect the customers will be very successful, right? So, and there's no alternative of being ahead of the cyber criminals. It comes down to, and no matter which environment you are in, it's a matter of when, not if. So we all need to be cognizant, and we need to have a secure cybersecurity strategy to beat the criminals. And even so, we need to make sure we are warned about the threat. And in the event we are breached, we need to mitigate the risk and reduce the financial burden on the organizations. In the event some threat happens and there's a breach, we need to be able to address what kind of financial damage has it done and how quickly the business can come back into business, right? So, and there's price to be paid for every organization which breaches their data. So it's important to be proactive, protect the data, protect the assets, and protect their employees and all of the intellectual property.
So the final question to you, Vinith. You're also part of a startup which is cybersecurity. Do you see more startups, Indian startups, coming into this space, and what are the opportunities for them?
Now, I have been regarding startups. I'll just come back in that question in like 1 second. But I have attended 2 things, that is OWSAP Seaside and one more cybersecurity conference. I attended it like 2-3 years back as well, and the amount of people I could see this time was very high. And then there are a lot of friends I have in this space as well, and I actually asked them, what's like your goal? In the olden days, they were like, yeah, I want to get into Google, I want to get into Apple and stuff like that. But now people are actually becoming like, I want to make my own startup on cybersecurity. I want to make a zero-day exploitation lab. The people who don't know, zero-day exploitation is basically vulnerabilities that are not found yet, and they are like discovered in like some alienated area, and like it comes to us and something like that. So yeah, cybersecurity startups are like a new thing now. Like we have AI startups, or cybersecurity startups are also coming up. It's definitely slow because the pace to catch up with this thing is pretty difficult, because unlike an AI where you can have an idea like I can have a machine that can take water from my fridge. It's pretty easy to do that. But in cybersecurity, you need a lot of talented people to find vulnerabilities and actually make an exploit for them. And not to forget that these things take a lot of time. I mean, I would like to give one example, and everybody would be knowing about this. Is the bug known as Meltdown and Spectre. It's about a CPU bug. It was there in these CPUs for more than 10, 15, 20 years. But it was recently discovered in like 3-4 years before. So it takes a lot of time to discover all these things. Startups in cybersecurity, I would definitely like to see a lot of them. They are coming as well. In India, definitely there has to be a lot more, I feel like.
So it looks nations and countries will have to have their own, the next new army is going to be the cybersecurity force. Which both nations and organizations will have to have. And it looks like with young professionals like Vinith and seasoned professionals like Mr. Ram and Mr. Atmuri, at least India's future seems to be secure when it comes to cybersecurity. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you for joining us.